In the late summer and fall of 2001, something quite remarkable happened on the Glendale River. Over 1 million pink salmon returned to spawn. They came rolling in black waves, filling the man-made spawning channels, and then pouring out and filling the rest of the river. It was like a black highway of fish, stretching from the saltwater estuary at the river's mouth up to the lake at the river's headwaters. These fish were feeding this valley and all of the plants, animals, and insects living in it. The adult bears were able to put on hundreds of pounds of fat to feed them and their cubs during their long winter sleep. 2002 was forecast by the DFO to be bringing an even larger run to the Glendale, perhaps over 1.5 million fish. The bears, eagles, and tour guides waited patiently for the runs to come in, knowing that it would again fill the river with nutrients from the sea. As the season wore on, however, only a few fish had returned. The guides thought that this was perhaps because it had been a very hot summer and the river level was extremely low. Then the life-giving rains came, but the fish never returned. The grizzlies began to panic, and some moved tirelessly up and down the river, searching for scraps of fish. An old scrap of fish skin that a bear normally wouldn't even look at suddenly became worth risking a battle for. This thin female with her scared cub searched the weir in vain for salmon. The cub clung to its mother, perhaps because it had seen its sibling killed by one of the big males who can become cannibalistic if there isn't enough food. The DFO, expecting over 5 million fish coming into the area, held a seine opening. The whole fleet caught just 12 fish. No one could say what had happened to the salmon runs. Then independent biologist Alexandra Morton spoke at a press conference where she informed the public that her research indicated that almost all of the millions of juvenile salmon which formed this run had been eaten alive by fish farm sea lice before they could even make it out to sea.
It's a biologist's very worst nightmare to witness the unraveling and collapse of the place that they went to study. In a nutshell, what's happening is young salmon are migrating past the fish farms, and the lice that are coming off of the fish farms are killing these young salmon. For the past 2 years, I've examined 150 miles of this coastline from Prince Rupert to this area, which is just above Johnson Straits. I've examined pink salmon this size. They're about 1 month old, 2,000 of them over these areas. And to put it simply, where there are fish farms, the fish are loaded with lice to the point they cannot survive. Where there are no fish farms, up in Prince Rupert, there are no sea lice on the young fish. This exact scenario has played out in Ireland and Scotland and Norway, and has caused the collapse of wild salmonid populations there. Sea lice do occur naturally on this coast. They're found on adult salmon frequently. But the fish farms have dangerously tampered with their biology. Sea lice normally die out over the winter. They can't tolerate fresh water. So when the adult fish go into the streams, the sea lice die. There's none to infect the little fish that come out. Now the fish, the lice, have a place to overwinter on the fish farms. There's up to 1 million fish in most of these farms, and every 3 to 4 weeks, the population of lice is going to double. So by the time the spring comes out, there's literally clouds of billions of lice larvae. You can see here that there's 30 farm sites in my area, most of them with active farms on them. When the fish swim out, say, from anywheres of the Knights Inlet rivers, they come down through here, and the tides force them to come up through Tribune Channel, and there they go out through Fife Sound, and they pass 8 fish farms. My next door neighbor out there in Echo Bay is the DFO patrolman, whose responsibility is to count the returning salmon every year, and his name is Glenn Niger. And when he reported that the salmon rivers were empty of pink salmon, I began to call patrolmen up and down the coast because I wanted to find out how widespread this problem was. So what you've got in the gray is the brood year. That's the parents of the fish we expected back this year. And the black is what actually returned this year. So Bella Coola River came out 1.2 million in 2000, 1.4 million in 2002. The Quatna, again, it's not as big a river, but they got more out back than went out. In the Quay, it's equal. They had 100,000 go out, they got 100,000 back. Now you go into the Broughton, where there's salmon farms, and you can barely read on this the number of fish that returned. This is a 1.2 million salmon run in 2000, and only 16,000 came back in 2002.